Good afternoon. This is the optional review for Tuesday. My date's off a little bit, January 20th. Madam Clerk, if you will call the roll, please.
Commissioner Rawls.
Present.
Commissioner Derrick.
Here.
Commissioner Oster.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Russell.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Lee. Here. Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Fox.
Here.
Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
10 members present.
Thank you. And just to remind everybody, this is not a voting meeting. This is for informational purposes only. I will start with the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is in my district. We only had one applicant apply. That was Mr. Craig Billette. He was not sure he was going to be able to make it today due to a work obligation. So I think he's going to try to be here next week, but just to kind of give you a heads up on that. And then I was also given the ag extension appointments. Let's see. Drew, did you tell me Karen and Lee can't be here? Okay, so is Emily Brewer here? Miss Brewer, would you like to come to the podium and just introduce yourself and take a couple minutes, tell us a little bit about yourself?
You need to hit
Push the little person button right there.
Can you hear me?
There, you got it now.
Yeah, my name's Emily Brewer. I'm currently employed as the Community Gardens Manager with the Knox County Community Gardens and Growers Alliance. We're an organization dedicated to fighting food insecurity in Knoxville. We have a 100-bed garden on the east side in a food desert, and we're opening one up in this spring just down from Western Heights Baptist Center. We help churches and organizations create community gardens that reach out to us. We're kind of a hub for local nonprofits and community gardens dedicated to the same mission. Prior to that, I've worked in sustainable farming. I've worked at a school as a middle school ag programming teacher. I've been a personal gardener for several clients. Yeah.
That's about it. All right, you've got a lot of gardening experience. I love that. Do any commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Rawls?
No question, but I'm familiar with the Growers Alliance and what they do in the district, and they do a lot of great work. And so I want to just say thank you for providing food in the food desert.
Yeah, we're happy to do it.
Thank you. All right. Is there somebody else? Commissioner Thompson? Nope. Okay, perfect. All right. And we will be making a decision next Monday at 5, but we'll be in the main assembly room.
Okay.
Okay? Awesome. Thank you for coming
Thanks.
down. Have a great day. Next is Pamela Stout present. Hi, Ms. Stout, if you'll come to the podium and give us your name and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Pamela Stout, and I'm a native to Knoxville. And currently, I have the honor of volunteering with the Knox County Farm Bureau. We have two sides to the Farm Bureau. We have the insurance side, and then we have the agriculture side. And I'm on the agriculture side. I serve the secretary for the county board, and then I chair the women's group for the Farm Bureau. I also am part of the Tennessee Ag and Forestry Leadership Program. It's an inaugural group that we just started this year with the Tennessee Department of Ag, the University of Tennessee, and the Farm Bureau. And so that's a leadership program that I've been selected, nominated to be a part of, so I appreciate that honor. And then we also, my husband and I, we have around 40 acres in East Knoxville where we grow corn, and then we have fields that we lease out to our neighboring farmer who does soybeans there. And so I also work with the Agri Chamber the Agribusiness Chamber. I'm also with the Tennessee Valley Fair. I serve on the board there. And during the fair, I have the honor and the privilege of serving in the horticulture section where we have the giant pumpkin. Everybody can relate to that. I also serve on a group that we initially started a couple of years ago. It's called Teaming to Educate Agriculture Mastering. We do a lot of educational sessions there. We do a lot of twilights. And I just work with them to make sure that we're able to advocate, communicate, and educate for agriculture in Knox County.
Great. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, same thing, 5 o'clock next Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
Main Assembly Room. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
down. Always appreciate the people that are out feeding us and farming. I tell Commissioner Thompson all the time, if you relied on me out in this cold weather, there would be no food. So I appreciate that. Or in the heat. So, all right, we are now going to move to our optional review. Does anyone have anything that they want to discuss? Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there are two sets of people in my district who would like to discuss something coming up on next week's agenda, which is the closing of Y-Way Lane. And so I'd like to give them the courtesy of an opportunity to speak to the body. The proponents are the Grays, and I defer to them, Madam Chair, at your discretion.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Can you hear
You'll
me
give your
okay?
name and address for the record, please.
Larry Gray.
Okay.
What else?
I'm Emily Gray.
And the address.
Our address is 4604 Wyway Lane.
Okay.
And that's Knoxville 37920.
All right. Give you a couple minutes to let us know what you guys want us to know.
You and Tom?
I'll talk a little bit. My hearing's pretty shot, so.
Okay.
We owned 3 houses at the end of Y-Way Lane. Our family moved there right after World War II and purchased this property. And my great aunt and my dad owned the property, and by and by, I ended up with the remaining property. My parents passed away and whatnot, and my aunt passed away. So we had a beautiful place on the looking out over the lake and whatnot, and it was a lot quieter than it is now with all that traffic increase and whatnot. And they tore down the house that we lived in for about 50 years and raised our kids. And then they tore down my parents' house. We just thought they were gonna take the one house. So we were gonna move back up to my parents' house, and I started working on it, fix it up. It was 65 years old or so. And so I started working on it, and they decided they wanted that one too. Now, I didn't understand how, they usually just cut straight down and they start doing this 45 off the road and whatnot, and taking a lot more property than, in my opinion, what they need, because it's all solid rock. They could have gone straight down on solid rock.
Do they know where we're talking about?
Yeah, we're
We're
talking.
off Alcoa Highway where they're.
We do. We've got,
Oh, you have them?
we've got the map.
Okay.
Anyway, what we would like to do is close the highway, the road, Y-Way Road, at the beginning of our property. And I think the road right away is 40 feet wide, and we wanted to, the road's actually on the first 10 feet toward our property. And it goes that way, 40 feet. And what we'd like to do is close the road there at the beginning of our property, because we own everything past that. And our hope is to have enough property left to rebuild one of our houses, which benefits everybody, since I'm sure we'll get taxed for it, and properly. And the other thing I'd like to mention is there was a big circle down at the end of the road. If you look at the map, where they had a big turnaround. It's just hard for me to believe in 46 or 47 that they did circles like that. So back when it was built, it was just a road down there and you had your lots around it. There wasn't any circles. And so I don't know where that came from, but of course it doesn't exist as far as, that never was done. But we'd like to take that property back that's on this map here and rebuild, basically, is what we'd like to do.
Thank you very
And
much.
I don't see why anybody would object to it because it's, there's nobody up there but us.
Well, thank you
Okay,
very
any
much.
questions?
We appreciate it.
Would you
We'll
like to
have,
say
we'll have questions and discussions amongst us, and if Commissioner Fox has a question for you guys. But thank you for coming. We appreciate it. And this vote will, of course, be taken next week. So this is just informational right now. So thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much.
Was there anyone else, Commissioner Fox?
Yes, Ms. Witzel would like to speak to the commission as well.
Ms. Whittle, if you'll give your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Jacine Witzel. I'm at 120 South Gay Street, apartment 601, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37902. I'm here on behalf of my father, Maynard Witzel, who lives at 4631. And Y-Way is a very weird neighborhood if you've ever driven up there. So I have actually given you guys some more information on how things are laid out, because even though things look like they're isolated, closing the road actually would reduce the fire department access to my dad's property at 4631, because the way it's laid out, Mr. Gray's property is 40 feet above my dad's property. So the only way the fire department could fight a fire in the woods and on two sides of my dad's property, because he is now also right on the edge of the bluff, because he was the last house that they didn't take. He has a great view now of the river. It's great. But so the fire department can fight two sides from high, and then they could fight two sides from my dad's driveway, which is down below. So we have no problem with them building back a house. We only have an issue with closing the road, because it then creates the life safety hazard. So that's the reason why I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I think all the commissioners got the packet also, correct? Okay, thank you very much. All right. We have got, okay, was he first? Were you first? I don't know. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, I've got a question. I guess as Mr. Snowden comes up, I guess my first question is, usually when we see, this is maybe a question for Mr. Fox, usually when we see road closures, they go through engineering public works as a process. And I guess maybe it's a dual question. What is the normal process? Because it's rare to see one that doesn't have engineering public works name on it. So
Yeah, and Commissioner Fox talked about this. Our typical rule of policy is when there's opposition, we reach out to both parties that are impacted. And when there is opposition, we don't want to be the sponsor there, because there's kind of a conflict. We want to be as very neutral as possible. So I advised Commissioner Fox of that, and he said that he would be willing to support the Gray's recommendation. So it was the fact that there was opposition is where we chose not to be the sponsor.
but how do you usually, what's the process in which you usually evaluate a road closure in general? Like when we close a road, it's usually for safety issues. It's not for, I want more land or I want less land, or, it's usually an access point or safe. But like, how do you evaluate this if one person wants more land and the other person wants more access?
They're typically what we would like to call paper right-of-ways, or old right-of-ways that were platted that were never used. This is, and I think the Grays and Ms. Winslow can speak to that, it's very unique. It's a very, with T-Dot's acquisitions of the Grays property, and then her dad's property being down below, there are pros and cons on both sides. So that's why engineering in this particular case didn't want to make a per se an official recommendation.
It's a great political answer. I guess what I'm asking is like, no, never mind. I guess I'm struggling because it's, it's almost all the road closures that we've seen have come through because of safety, access points that deal with safety, other safety things. I don't think I've seen one where we need more land and we're taking a public street and making a decision on whether it benefits one person or the other. And it's atypical. It's not having to do with the road. It's not having to do with the safety. It has to do with the traffic. It doesn't have to do with the whatever. It's purely access versus no access on preferential. And that's why it struck me as odd.
And it is 100%. Usually when we have these, there's not a road there. It's just a right of way that was platted and the road never was constructed or we never accepted that right of way. So it goes through a closure process. In this case, I think the Grays want to build another home back and they can use this area to potentially have enough area or acreage to get it, I think it's zoned RA, so they could get maybe another 10,000 square foot of a lot. So
do they buy that from the public?
In this particular case, no. When we acquired this property by dedication many, many years ago. So our procedure is if the county never paid for the property, we don't charge for it. Now, there's some instances where we bought right away. Yes, we want to recoup our money. But in this case, an original developer dedicated this to the county many, many years ago. So there was no expense to the county for us to recoup.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Rawls?
I don't want to change the subject, but so if I'd like to go after we've finished this subject matter, if that's okay.
That's
Madam
fine.
Chair. Okay.
Just remind me if I lose it. 12. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the Grays and also Mrs. Witzel for being with us today. I had the same question that Commissioner Jay had and reached out to Director Snowden and also the Chief of Fire for Rural Metro because when I first looked at this, I had concerns about access for emergency service vehicles and their ability to access both 4631 and the other lots nearby. And I did speak with him, and he did say that it is a fair statement to reiterate that there is concern that the emergency service vehicles could not access the rear part of this property if this is closed. I also had a question about, is this a water line that runs to Director Snowden? Is this a water line that runs directly down the middle? And how will that be impacted?
There is, me and Ms. Witzel talked about that. I believe that the water line that KUB maintains is up on the higher elevation. And then Mr. Witzel's meter is in the road and then runs down the slope. So it's a private line, I guess, and Ms. Witzel can clarify that, from the meter down. So yes, the main line's up on Way Lane, and then there's a meter and a private line that runs to his home.
So if this road was closed, how would that be impacted?
It would. We've already contacted the utilities, and as part of this, the existing utilities would retain, I think it was 10 or 15 feet with wide easements. So there wouldn't be, if this was closed and the property was transferred, there would still be an easement underlaid there for those utilities that are existing today.
Okay, and Director Snowden, I had also asked you about if they could obtain a variance through BZA. Would you share with the commission your response to that, please?
For sure. I think they would have a very good case. One of the things that BZA looks at is, topography and hardships. And also in this particular case, there's some variance. Our zoning ordinance contemplates when you are put in nonconformance by road taking, you essentially, you have you have that option to get the variance or for us to approve that permit. So I think if the Grays did want to pursue that, they would have a excellent case to get maybe a lot intensity variance or a setback variance just due to the unique configuration of the lot after TDOT's taking.
Thank you. And again, those were just comments, just sharing what I had learned this week.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You can't tell, from the map that Ms. Witzel gave us, you can tell from the map that's associated with the agenda item that we're supposed to hear next week. There are actually two different areas of land that that the Grays are seeking to close. One is to the northwest of 4631, so it's kind of adjacent to that, and that used to be part of a tract that the Grays owned that was taken by TDOT. And I want to note, I don't think anybody's paid a higher price for the expansion of Alcoa Highway than the Grays. They took their land. It's all exposed now. Maybe they like that. Some people might have preferred the solitude of, with the woods and everything, but they paid a very high price here. And so they're asking that this easement, and I did want to note, I'm not a real property litigation expert, and I think Mr. Boot can certainly speak to some of these statements of law that I'm about to make, but when the government receives a dedication like this, they don't get an interest, they don't own the land. The city, the county doesn't own the land. The county gets an easement that can be used as a right-of-way for people to ingress and egress. Well, when that easement is abandoned by the county, what happens is the property reverts to the two abutting landowners. So actually, 4631 is going to get out of that 40-foot roadway, 4631 gets 20 feet of it. And then 4604 gets 20 feet of it. So I think people, when they hear, that road's going to be closed and it's going to cut off, at the edge of, let's say, 4631 and the wooded area next to it, to the right of it. And no one can get back there anymore. That's not true. 4631 will have 20 feet that will reach all the way back to the edge of the road. It's going to belong to them. So if they have concerns, if Mr. Witzel, Maynard Witzel, and his daughter, Jacine, have concerns about access, they're actually going to own that land, and any emergency vehicle can go onto their land from the backside and access the back of the property if there was a fire in that wooded area. So there's not going to be any prevention. It's just that an additional 20 feet will then go to the Grays that'll expand their property out by 20 feet. So I hope that clears it up for people, that the road is not cut off and no one can get back there. The Witzels could put a big sign up that says this part of the road is still open, or the Grays could fence it off, but that leaves the rest of the road open for access by emergency vehicles. And regarding the easement, the Grays have no more right to do anything with the utility easement than anybody does. If you have a telephone pole in your yard, you can't tear it down. It's there, and the utilities and government have a right to maintain that pole, even if it's located on private property. So that the Grays are still bound by whatever rights are afforded to the utility easement. They can't tamper with it just because this road is closed. All that's happening here when these tracks, when the easement's being given up by the government, is the property reverts to the abutting landowners. And that's why I think it's really no skin off anybody's nose that this get closed, because actually 4631 is going to get an additional 20 feet that goes to that property in line with what used to be Y-Way Road. So I encourage everybody to vote yes on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's what Commissioner Frazier had expressed. I guess I was concerned about the emergency services being able to get there. So, Mr. Snowden, can you address, are you in agreement with what Commissioner Fox just stated?
Yeah, I would like to, one of the nuances of this particular issue is, and I think Mr. Gray even alluded to it, is oftentimes roads get built not in the center of the right of way. And I think this may be the case where that happens. So I would, based on, and I'm making some assumptions here, but based on what KGIS looks like in the aerial view, it does look like the road is shifted more north, or pardon me. Yeah, well, I guess let's say north for this example, in the right of way. So like the right of way is 50 feet, or pardon me, 40 feet, but maybe that 15 or 20 foot road instead is not right in the center. It's actually shifted slightly to the north. And I think that's one of Ms. Witzel's concerns is if they close the half, then essentially the flat area that is practicality, the road, is primarily going to be granted to Mr. and Miss Gray. And hence the area that she would get, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, or the Grays, this is what I've looked at, what I've researched on it, is that area that Mr. Witzel would get wouldn't be level and flat for a fire truck to access. So because of the road is not in the center of the right of way, it creates another nuance that may prohibit a fire truck from accessing that location. That's at least what it looks like in KGIS.
There wouldn't still be a utility easement?
There would be an easement, yes, ma'am, but I don't believe it doesn't appear based on what we're seeing and what Mr. Gray even said earlier, that it would be traversable by a fire truck, is my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so that was kind of my question too, or the way the map that Ms. Witzel provided, where the property lines are, yes, the easement comes over 20 feet, but that 20 feet that they acquire is still wooded. It's not actually part of the roadway. So yes, they get an extra 20 feet, but it's woods that they're probably already using as wooded property. And so I can see the concern there. My question is so the house here at 4604, that's not something that, that's not a house you all are living in, or? Yes, it is. Okay, but you're wanting to build another house.
Right, because we lost two.
You lost two, and so you wanted to build another one.
I'm 77 now, and my wife is much younger. But, I was wanting to build another house and probably park one of my kids there or something other. I know as you get older, you say, well, it'd be nice if you could stay in your house and have somebody look after you a little bit. And that's really what we're wanting to do, build another house. Hopefully one of the kids will move in, and hopefully they won't put us in the old farts home. And, and kind of look after us when we need their help. And the Witzel house, they don't even come in from the top of the hill. They've got their own road coming from the bottom of the hill. Their driveway and everything is half a mile away from the backside of that hill. And nobody ever uses that property down through there. It's just woods. It used to belong to our family, by the way, and my great aunt sold it for $500 years ago, and they put that house on it. But the bottom line is the emergency. They have access from the top of the hill too, across the street from our house, because they own like that 20 feet, as he just mentioned, so they can put another road down through there if they want to for emergency or whatever else. And like I said, with us owning that piece of property there, I can put some trees up along the side of the road and perhaps kill some of the highway noise, because you feel like you're in the middle of the interstate up there now. It used to be pretty quiet. We had houses down there that blocked trees and all that stuff. It blocked all the noise. Now it's pretty hectic.
I'd like to make one comment about the concerns with emergency. Emergency vehicles can't get to the back of our house either. I don't understand, because to get to the back of our house, they would be coming up that cliff that the TDOT trucks and people have been driving on, but I don't understand why that's such a concern, because like Larry said, their driveway comes up from the bottom of the hill. They have perfect access to the house.
If you came down from the hill, you'd have to be a billy goat, because it's straight down.
Yeah, and you all are served by Rural Metro, correct?
I'm sorry.
You're served by Rural Metro, is that correct?
I'm not sure, rural metro? Is that for the city?
The county.
We're only in the county, I don't know.
Okay, so you'd
I'm
be
not
served by
sure.
Rural Metro and they're, okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do from time to time real estate litigation, and here's what a surveyor told me. GIS stands for Get It Surveyed. These GIS maps are not reliable. I mean, they're close, but you can't be like, oh, this tells me exactly where the boundary is. They don't do that. They're pretty good, but that's why you have surveyors out there. And I'll tell you that I'm familiar with more than one lawsuit being started by somebody who claimed they had certain rights to strips of land when they didn't, because they were going off the GIS map or they were going off the tax map. That happens too. People go off these maps and they don't actually survey them before they get way over their skis. So that's what I have to say. You just can't go with the boundaries that are drawn. They're close, but no cigar. And then, of course, Mrs. Gray made the point I was going to make. I think most houses, I shouldn't say most, there are a substantial number of houses in the county that don't have access for emergency vehicles to their backyard. So what we have here to me is we have this kind of unspecified threat of what if this happens? And that heightened concern is being put over a real tangible loss that these people have suffered for the good of everyone else, so that Alcoa can be expanded. And I think that their plight warrants Knox County Commission's accommodation to trying to help them put back together what they lost, and that's why I'm another reason why I'm for this. Thank you.
Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Chair Oster. Actually, I was going to make a comment similar. I use KGIS on a very regular basis, and it's probably wrong 10% of the time. As a matter of fact, I own one piece of property that has that I had surveyed before I purchased it, and KGIS has the boundary line running through the house, which it doesn't, because I had it surveyed and I know where the pins are. So it's often wrong. And I guess my question was, has anybody surveyed this? Has there been a survey?
We were told in the letter that we got regarding this meeting that we have to provide a survey at some point. And we started to go ahead and do that prior to this. And we contacted a PLS land survey. I don't know what the professional, maybe land, I don't know. We were given a list. So anyway, we contacted a surveyor and told him the situation. And he said he would come up there and give us an estimate for the initial survey. And we never heard back from him. So we have not done that yet, but that's a part of the process, is that we do have to have that done, and we'll do that.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay?
I have a different agenda item to talk
Oh,
about when
okay.
we're done with the subject. I don't know
Okay.
how to put a light on or wave.
Commissioner Rawls?
If we've moved on, then.
I think all the questions have been asked about the road.
Okay. All right, so I wanted to talk about agenda item 27. Commissioner, could you tell me, Commissioner Fox, before you get on your phone, could you?
Looking up agenda item 27.
It's yours.
Oh, it's yours.
I hear you, but I don't know which one it is.
It's your presentation.
Oh, my presentation. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Well,
Tell me about that. Tell me about that presentation.
Well, it's, you may remember that a few months ago, many of the comments that were directed towards me and Commissioner Russell arose not out of a political viewpoint, but out of a spiritual, out of a biblical viewpoint. And so, and I was going to respond to that at the time, but that my response elicited an objection. And so I want to use, the presentation in order to address that, because people have brought in religious viewpoints as a basis for opposing that particular initiative. So I want to respond and demonstrate why that those viewpoints are not correct. Yeah,
So you're going to be doing this presentation?
that's correct. Yeah.
I'll just be frank. Did you go to seminary?
No.
Okay. All right. I have a problem sitting in a meeting and somebody's giving me Jesus's opinion of things or a biblical position on things, and they did not go to seminary, nor are they ordained to teach something like this. So, I mean, I don't even think it's appropriate as a rebuttal to something that happened 60 days ago. The meeting is over. People gave their opinions. It is what it is. People give their opinions at that podium all the time. We may agree with it, we may not. But I don't think we need to rebuttal positions that have already been passed from a meeting's vote. So,
Do you want me to respond?
you can.
Oh, okay. Well, I just disagree. I have a right to give an opinion too, and I didn't get a chance to get an opinion.
Okay.
So, and you certainly do not have to be an ordained, that's like saying you have to go to journalism school to be a journalist. You don't have to be an ordained minister to render an opinion on the Bible. In fact, the Bible talks about people being, that Jesus is the priest between the sinner and God, not some priest, not some pastor. So Christians often, or Christians are expected to give opinions about the Bible, like the Bereans did. If you know who the Bereans are, they heard people talk about the Bible and preach, and then they went and studied the scriptures to ascertain whether or not what that person said was accurate. So Christianity is not receiving from the priest or the pastor without any involvement at all. It's a faith that involves studying. And so, and I've been a Christian for a long time. I certainly don't think I hold a perfect view of it, because I haven't, studied all the Greek or all the Hebrew. But I can point to verses that support my position and refute other people's positions. And if other people want to bring that and make that a part of this public debate in this public square, I'm going to give my opinion.
I think we could all do that. So I'd just like us to not do that. That was my point.
Okay, well, I'm going to.
No, you can do whatever you want to do. But my point was, I would prefer if we did not do that. So.
Duly noted.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to get to item 31 next, but I'm just going to jump in really quickly to item 27, the same discussion. I think more importantly, your Christian biblical view is your Christian biblical view, and it's not the business of Knox County Commission. And illegal immigration is not in the purview and role and responsibility of Knox County Commissioners. So I think that the item itself, you can have it in the public square, but we are here to do the business of Knox County as a whole. And we've never used this as a place to just come and give. So I too would recommend that you don't keep this on the agenda for next week. I just don't think it's the business of a Knox County.
Do you care if I respond to that, Commissioner Jay?
Go ahead.
First of all, illegal immigration is a local issue.
It's not under our purview and responsibility, is what I said.
Well, it is under our purview and our responsibility. We have a charter-based form of government, which means that we can adopt we have basically the police power, short of, we cannot tell the city what to do, any city in this county what to do. Number two, we can't contradict any state statute. Other than that, we have the police power. So it is absolutely within the purview of this county. And I know, Commissioner Jay, that you wish this was a corporation where all we talked about was budget and these very strict, narrow concerns that most counties are restricted to, but we're not. This county has broad powers, and I intend to use them to the extent that one commissioner can initiate items and vote. And again, it's
Okay, but this is not a voting item. I see no legislation in front of us. This is just a presentation.
Yeah, this is
And
a
I think what you're
presentation.
doing is you're opening up the box for any commissioner to give any presentation on anything they want in any way, shape, and form, whether it's something that we're legislatively acting upon or not. And again, this body has traditionally focused on items that are before us or agencies that give, presentations are 99.9% of the time for agencies that we work with for the business of Knox County. And I think you're opening up a Pandora's box that is straying away from the everyday business of the county.
Okay. There are agenda items that are pending right now that have to do with illegal immigration. One is the ordinance that Commissioner Russell and I, the ordinance that Commissioner Russell and I sponsored, which is pending. It's been delayed for 6 months. So that's germane to county business, what I'm proposing. And if other people hadn't have brought all these positions into the public square, then I would probably not be responding, but they did. And by the way, it's not my opinion. I'm planning on sharing scriptures that specifically refute it. So it's not like I'm just going to get up here and give a homily. I'm going to show where there are scriptures that refute what people are saying, that people have cynically twisted the Bible for their political purposes. So, and then maybe people will stop trying to bring it. To me, it's a simple issue. We have a law, a federal law, that people don't like, and so they're trying to work against it. And I want to do what I can as a legislative or as a member of the legislative body to support the federal law. And it is a local issue because we have, according to you, 25,000 people who live here illegally, who reside in this county when they're violating the immigration laws of the United States. And I want to do what I can to eliminate that.
Madam Chair, I'd like to talk about item 31, please.
Floor is yours.
Mr. Snowden, can you please help us better understand 31? I also know that we have someone here that just wanted some more clarification on this. It'll obviously come up next week, and I would encourage you to sign up for public forum, but maybe you could just give us a preview.
Sure, and sorry to bring, seems like this is a month of complicated road closures, so my apologies about that. These are usually pretty straightforward. This one, and talked to Commissioner Hill a time or two about this one. We did a closure and a property swap a few months ago for some adjacent parcels and have since been able to communicate with the landowner there, Ms. Jenkins, and hopefully by this closure address some of her concerns. This particular location wasn't even a tract when the county built Shad Road, so we didn't acquire any property from them or anything like that, but they did bring a concern to us that there may have been some potential damages or some loss of access rights, which we got with our appraiser and Deputy Law Director Moyers, and we don't believe that we have done that. However, there are some surplus right-of-ways there, that some of which was an existing roadway and some of which was purchased from an adjacent landowner that we intend to, as part of this closure, give back to Ms. Jenkins or the Jenkins family, so that they can kind of clarify and have a little better understanding of what their access will be. This is, hopefully, I've communicated with Ms. Jenkins a time or two, and I think this is a little more agreeable to her than what was originally presented, so we hope this is a good compromise.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Ms. Jenkins, if you want to sign up for public forum next week and give your side, that would be great. You can see Drusilla here and she can put you on the agenda.
Sure, thank you.
Commissioner Durrett? Sorry, I'm having to find your all seat numbers, but it's taking me a minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to discuss item 19. I just needed some clarification from the sponsor. Commissioner Lee, can you tell me what exactly this is asking us to do? Or the policy, it changes?
Yes, this is to coincide with what the House is trying to pass a bill right now to account for all the illegal children that are in our schools. And that is in the House right now.
Okay, so it's not, but the legislation has not passed and it's not state law yet, correct?
It is not state law, but
Okay.
I would like to bring that we do that in Knox County.
Well, so my objection to this is that schools and any kind of school policy goes to the school board. I mean, that's why we have the consent decree on our educational consent. We can discuss it, but we can't, once it's for us, it's just for money. So any kind of policy dealing with the school system is the school board's responsibility, not commission's. And since this is their legislative priority and not ours, I don't think we have any authority to say how they should operate. And again, this is their legislative priority that they passed and they had with the legislative delegation, I think last week, if I'm not mistaken. So if, as a body, as the commission body, I don't think it is appropriate for us to take a stand on an issue between the school board, which has a duly elected body, and the state legislature.
Well, I disagree with that because it is also immigration is a federal law. So that supersedes any kind of local school board policy. This does not dictate what the schools do, but it would bring our county body to say that we approve of this. That is not, we cannot enforce that with the schools, but we can, as a legislative body, say we would want to be in compliance with federal law.
Commissioner Fox?
I'm withdrawing my question for a moment, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Rawls?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Law Director, do you have any, would this fall under the consent decree?
It's, number one, this died in committee last year. The thing that, and I understand it's going to try to be brought up again, but usually when something dies in committee, it's dead. So take that into consideration. The other thing is that the school board, the schools do not belong to the county. They belong to the state of Tennessee. The schools belong to the state of Tennessee, and the state has said, okay, these local LEAs will control what happens subject to what we, the state, say. So I'm not sure exactly what this is intending to do. Now, I think that at the last board meeting, school board meeting, that the school board said, we are not going to require students to prove that they're citizens. So that's a dead deal as far as that goes, because they've done that under their powers of the state. So I'm not sure exactly what this is doing, other than if it comes to, as I understand what the commissioner's saying, if it comes out of committee and gets on the floor again, well, it never has been on the floor in Nashville, but if it does, she wants them to know that the Knox County Commission is in favor of passing that. That's what I understand, and I may be wrong, but
That is correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so Dr. Brick, just so I understand what was just said, it died in committee last year. It might make it out of committee, might not.
correct.
But if it does get out of committee, then this would say that Knox County Commission is in favor of the legislation, but our school board just stated that they weren't going to require student certification that they were U.S. citizens.
Well, as I understand what died in committee, it was a provision that had been modified and simply gave the discretion to the local LEAs to do what they wanted. So the discretion, if our LEA, if that's what passes, our LEA, school board, has already exercised its discretion in saying, we're not going to require students to prove citizenship. So that, it's a complex issue, but the school board's already ruled, and unless the state says you've got to go in and get proof from every student that they are a citizen, if they do that, then we'd have to do it. But that's not what they're doing.
So legislation is basically stating that the local LEA could have it at its own discretion, do what it wants.
That's what I
And
understand.
this-
That's what I understand.
And this resolution says that we're in favor of that, but our local school board just said, we're not going to require it.
Correct.
So this is a moot point?
Well, that's up to you to decide whether it is or isn't.
I mean, it's or unnecessary?
The decision's been made by the school board what they're going to do.
Right.
And unless the state says, oh, school board, you've got to go to every student and have them prove citizenship, school board's made up its mind, they're not going to do it.
And we don't have any
You have
regulatory
no
purview
power.
over our school system anyway.
No. And Commissioner Lee, she's not saying that we've got power. She's just saying that she would like this body, as I understand it, to say, we believe in what you're doing in the legislature on that particular item. I think that's all.
Okay,
But we have no power, you're correct. We have no power over what the school board does.
okay.
Okay. I want to add just a caveat to this, because I agree with the discussion that's going on. Right now, there is no state law, and Jason Zachary, Representative Zachary, last week stated on TV that the state has gone to the White House to ask about this legislation, and the federal government could possibly pull $1.2 billion of federal funding if the state passes this legislation. So at this point, the legislators have no intent on doing anything with this until they hear back from the White House. And that came directly from Representative Zachary. So I just wanted to tell you that in case you hadn't heard that, because that does kind of, it seems like it's going to kind of stall everything until the White House kind of makes their decision on what they're going to do with the federal funding. So I'm just giving you that information. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just for clarification, if the state were to pull it out of committee and pass it, then the federal government would pull
That, I mean, right
or
now, the
withhold money
conversation,
from the state.
the conversation per Representative Zachary was that they have spoke to the White House about this, and they have not gotten details back whether the federal government will pull $1.2 billion from the state of Tennessee's education.
1.2 billion.
Yes. And
If the
per-
legislation
and-
passes,
yes,
that this resolution would be in favor
yes,
of.
and that's per Representative Zachary.
Okay.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Thompson, I think I want to peel back a layer and go backwards. I've never seen this commission pass any resolution on a proposed law that's not yet law for a thing that's not in our jurisdiction. And is in a totally different legislative body. I get what you're trying to do, Commissioner Lee, but I don't think it's appropriate for this body to take a vote on something that, who know, every law comes out of committee a totally different way. I have no comfort in supporting anything in which I don't see the final language of for something that hasn't happened, that may or may not happen for something that's in a different legislative body altogether. And I don't understand this, and I've never seen this before. And so I guess I understand your intent of wanting to support that, but we have a legislative committee that watches all the bills all year long and keeps an eye on those. And we've never done something like this. And I would feel very uncomfortable voting on something I don't know anything, how it's going to finish out.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Lee, the legislation is the state is preparing to identify, or they're talking about identifying, requiring local education associations to identify illegal children who are here unlawfully in the country versus children who are citizens or otherwise legal residents of the country. Isn't that what the purpose? Okay, so then if the school system was forced to identify how many children are using the educational system when they're not supposed to be residing in Knox County, then we could identify the level of funding that we would be then willing to provide to the school system based upon whether there are based upon which attendees lawfully are using the facilities and which aren't then, right? Yes. So then that would bring it into our purview because we get to call the shots on the funding of the school system. Yes. So I think I do see how it can be within our purview, because ultimately we decide the level of funding. The school system asks for funding, and we decide whether we're going to give the level of funding that they're requesting.
Only to the part where our charter provides the additional funding. There's some that we have to
because it's state.
Correct. And then
Right.
our charter provides that. But then there's some additional that we can choose to give them or not choose. They come before us all the time wanting extra money. So only to that effect. Nothing that would violate what's mandated by school, by the state or our charter.
Right.
So.
Okay. And doesn't the school usually provide us a per child funding request? Isn't that how it's usually based, per child? Yes. So it's very easy then to identify how much would be attributable to children who really aren't supposed to be in this county. Yes. Okay.
Director Book, I've got just a question on this. And it's really just to ask the question. Because if we're not going to, if the state isn't comfortable with the federal government telling them, don't do this and don't do that, we're not funding you. And the state of Tennessee's Constitution reads that every child is to be educated. It doesn't say particularly. If the state legislature says, yeah, the White House is going to pull $1 billion from us, and they decide not to do that because we can't obviously take that kind of hit financially. Does this is just saying this is what Knox County wants. It's not saying that we stand beside the legislator who said we don't want to provide this or pass this because we're going to lose all of this money. So to me right now, it seems a little early to be doing this if the legislature hasn't taken anything up yet because they're waiting on the White House to tell them what they're going to do.
If,
If I could just interject, that if the White House would cause the legislators not to do anything, then this would not have any action, any cause of action.
Well, that-
This
but-
is only if it's consistent with the law.
Right,
If
but
it's
all
not-
I'm saying is, maybe you wait to put this forward until you know what the legislature's gonna do. Because if the White House comes back and says, okay, we're not gonna hold that money, and the legislatures then say, okay, we'll go ahead and go through with a bill, then at that point, you've kind of got something. Right now, if the legislatures don't do anything, then this really just doesn't do anything, because they're not doing anything.
Right.
That was just my point, because of Jason Zachary saying that last week. It's kind of like, well, it's kind of held up, and it could be held up all session.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? So I'm trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying, right now,
understand.
there's not anything there. So
I understand.
to answer your question that you originally asked me, I cannot imagine that the state legislature, I can't even imagine that Congress or the Department of Education is going to say, take away education from kids. To go back to what Commissioner Fox said about his Bible, I go back to what words in the Bible where Jesus said, suffer the little children to come unto me. And I think the state legislature is not going to require that sort of thing under any circumstances. And it would be totally, so you want to send these kids and not get them an education if for some reason they can't come up with documents that they don't even know what they are to prove that they are, quote, citizens of the state of Tennessee or the United States. It is incomprehensible to me, but that doesn't mean it won't be done or can't be done. But I would just take that homily from the Bible.
thank you. Let's see. Commissioner Rawls?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This gives me pause because of the consent decree. We are stepping into another legislative body's work, right? Whether we agree with the state or not, the state will dictate what we do, will dictate what the schools do, and that will then dictate to us what's necessary. If we agree with it or we don't agree with it, the state will give us that guidance. And so this conversation, to be quite frankly, it bothers me because we have a consent decree. That is a lawsuit. This opens us up. This whole conversation opens us up for damages, right? Like, so I think it's been expressed in many different ways, is that we should wait until the state gives us guidance, whether it comes out on the floor and there's a vote. What happens at the end of session, we will know. And at that point, then we can bring this up again.
Thank you. Mr. Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard what you said, Madam Chair, about providing free education to every child. That's not actually, and I recognize that's what the Supreme Court of Tennessee ruled, but that's not actually what's in the Constitution. The Constitution just says that Tennessee shall provide the maintenance, support, and eligibility standards of a system of free public schools. So it doesn't specifically say every child, whether they're here unlawfully or not, has a right to utilize that system. Now, the Supreme Court has decided that it applies to every child, but the courts, while their rulings carry precedential value, they're not like super legislatures, and they often get overruled. That's why, for instance, Roe versus Wade was decided one way in the 70s, and the court changed its mind in the just a few years ago. And frankly, that's why I never feel shy about sharing what I believe are correct, proper legal interpretations, because the Supreme Court itself changes its mind all the time. So no one can say, oh, well, they said that and that's the gospel truth, because you can point to many decisions by courts throughout the ages that were either morally wrong, like the Dred Scott decision or Plessy Ferguson, or they've changed their mind. They've been on both sides of an issue, like, like the Roe case and the more recent case. So anyways, but I just wanted to clarify that the Constitution itself does not say that, but that's what the Tennessee Supreme Court construed because of the federal court case of Plyler versus Doe, which was kind of imposed on us. That's the Tennessee or the United States Supreme Court. But I would like to point out that Jesus was talking about the little children coming to him, and he wasn't saying, therefore, give all the children whatever they want or whatever you feel they need. That's my problem with people bringing the Bible in to public square issues, because they take it out of context and they just twist it and apply it however they want without applying proper context. And that's what I'm going to be doing next week, is I'm going to be applying proper context to all these verses that have been taken out of context to slander me, frankly. So, and I'm going to have a chance to respond to the slander that was. Yeah, I know it's funny to you, Commissioner Rawls.
No, it's funny. It is funny because you're taking it as an attack. The people were speaking against legislation you were proposing. They were not talking about you personally.
No, they were. That's the problem.
They weren't.
Yes, they certainly
not.
were. I wrote it down. I wrote everything down.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I know you did.
So, yes, they were calling me a whitewashed tomb, Commissioner Rawls. A whitewashed tomb, that's a term of art within the Bible itself. That's what they were calling me.
Okay.
Yeah, they used that very phrase. So it was a slander on me.
Okay, let's get back on. My point just was and I made that to Commissioner Lee, and I think you heard it, just because of the legislature right now. That's it. Commissioner Hill had to go upstairs because we have a personnel meeting and we have a guest going to do a presentation really quick. So if you were on personnel, if there's nothing else before us right now, if you were on personnel, I need you to run up to the commission conference room really quick. And otherwise, we are adjourned. Good afternoon. I call to order the public hearing for Knox County for ordinance O-25-12-101. And Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll.
Commissioner Rawls.
Present.
Commissioner Darrett.
Here.
Commissioner Oster.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Russell.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Fox. Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
8 members present.
Thank you. Do we have anyone signed up for public forum? I do not have, and I don't see anyone in the audience. Do commissioners have any questions? Anything you want to talk about on this? All right. All right, seeing none, I have a motion. Oh, Commissioner Russell?
Sorry, I got my light on a little slow. I did have a question. I know that I had asked about this during the board our regular meeting last month, but and I know that this is required by Tennessee state law, but I just would like to ask the law director if there are any of the parts of the regulation that could actually be strengthened a little bit. I guess my biggest concern is that once someone has vested rights for 3 years, we could change as a county how we're wanting to do things, or need additional information at that time based on new information we have. And I guess the level of completeness that's required, for some reason I jotted down that it was 80% for an application to be considered complete and for them to have vested rights. Could that percentage be increased so that they're not getting vested rights until they actually have completed the process and have done it thoroughly?
I'll try to look it up and see what, I'm not sure exactly what you're saying. You can change, this commission can do what it wants down the road. I mean, that's good. So I'm not sure what the, I've got to look it up on here. Let me do that. Since we were discussing that.
While we're waiting on Director Book, does anybody else have anything? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
If I may, while Director Book's looking for that, I just am wondering, it states it's to follow recent legal legislative action that has already been taken. I'm wondering for this, as it reads anyway, if it might not need to be passed as is to line up with recent action that we took. And then at some point, if we want to go back and look at the item that caused this to have to happen, that might be what we would need to do. Because right now, we're just trying to align with something that's already been passed.
Right.
I believe is the way I'm looking at it.
What's the number on that?
The ordinance.
It's 025-12-101.
Since that's a zoning ordinance, you can amend the zoning ordinance anytime you want. By going through the procedure, you got to submit it to the planning commission, which you did on this one. And so I'm not sure what the question is. The commission can change it.
Well, this particular ordinance was not initiated by anyone on the commission. It was initiated in response to the change in Tennessee law, where they now require the vesting rights to last for 3 years. I think before it was, I had jotted down somewhere 180 days, I think, but now it's 3 years. And so we amended things to make it, to rewrite it for 3 years. But in the Tennessee law, it specifically says that the vesting occurs upon substantial compliance with having filed the application with no omittances, nothing, and all of the attached requirements that we might have, like traffic studies or whatever. If someone files something, and again, I could be wrong, but because I did just look at this over the weekend in depth, But if it's at 80%, then we're allowing people who haven't really totally completed their applications to have vesting rights and those rights last for 3 years, and we can't take those rights away. But if we make it a substantially higher level of compliance, such as it has to be 100% complete before they have any vesting, then we're protecting ourselves. Because, for instance, this would be a case right now where we're in the process of changing some things, and if people were to throw a bunch of applications out there that are 80% done, then they could obtain vesting rights when, shouldn't we require it to be 100% complete? They've filed all the, if we need flood studies or stormwater plans or whatever else we might need with that to consider it a full and complete application.
I have to go look at, we're bound by state law to start.
But they didn't define substantial. They leave that up to the county. So I'm suggesting that Knox County make it 100%. Oh, I'm so sorry. I do apologize. I did ask a little bit about this at the last meeting. And then since then, I wanted to investigate it, and my husband had heart surgery, and then I had the flu. So I just got around to it this weekend, and so that's why the question.
Some time after this public hearing, I'll go upstairs and get in the books and see.
Okay. Yes, sir. Again, I apologize. It would not have happened had I not. I'm always running on empty, running low, so running behind.
Commissioner Fox sponsored it, so.
Commissioner Fox?
Something that's
No.
that we've already adopted though in our own comprehensive plan also.
It probably is because we've got a new comprehensive plan.
Well, that's the question that I asked last month. I asked the question, why are we implementing this new ordinance? Why are we not waiting to roll it in with the comprehensive plan? That way everything's looked at the same time. But I was told we had to do it because of the state law. Of course, there have been many times when there have been state laws that have been instituted and we've tried to do things locally and been told that, no, we don't need to do anything additional, the state law will cover it. But in this case, someone decided they wanted to do something additional, and I'm just concerned that we make the compliance, that the standard for being considered substantially complete be as high as possible.
Well, just bring up a question to say substantial, that's in the state statute, correct?
Yes, but they allow each county to define it themselves.
So if you say got to be 100%, that's, seems to me to be, if they use the word substantial, it generally means up to a certain point, but not complete. And what you're saying is you would rather have it 100%. And so that's what I'm going to look up and see if that's.
Okay. The other question that I would like to ask is also when just going through it, and again, it's several pages, I wanted to make sure that we also had the ability to terminate vested rights for violations. In other words, if they supplied incorrect, inaccurate, or did not comply with their original application, that we have the right to pull that back, because at that point, their application certainly was not substantially complete. So those were my two questions.
Okay, your question is, once something's vested, can this commission take it back? Is that the question?
No, sir. It's
Okay.
that if the applicant, because it is contingent upon the substantial completion of the application, that if that occurs, where they've given us inaccurate information or anything like that, that it specifically says in there that if any inaccurate information has been supplied or they didn't comply with what they said they would do in the application, that at that point it's considered void. They didn't fulfill their end of the bargain.
Commissioner Russell, Madam Chair, may I step in here?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell, do you mind if I restate what I think you're trying to say to Mr. Book?
Yes.
I think what she's saying, Mr. Book, is she wants to know if a decision of this body is based upon something that turns out to be even negligent misrepresentation by the applicant, that they don't have a vested right, that decision can be rescinded based upon a misrepresentation. Was that a fair way to say it?
Yes,
Thank you.
That makes more sense then, because it would never have vested.
Yes.
So that makes sense, and sure.
But I would just like to maybe see that in writing so it's understood and there's no question about it. But again, these are just questions I have.
Okay. Well, I'll go upstairs and see what the book says on the state law.
Commissioner Fox, do you have anything else?
I mean, she,
No, Madam Chair.
Somebody else on? Or no?
I have a problem too, because they've approved what you've got here, and are we gonna change it substantially so that you gotta go back before the planning commission? I mean, the statute says you gotta go to the planning commission first. So that's another issue that's got to be looked at.
I reached out to Director Brooks to see if she was busy.
Yeah. But I'll see what I can find here during the break between here.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I bring, if Director Brooks is in our next meeting, might I bring some of these questions up while she's
She'll
here?
be down there to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Does that mean you're gonna rely on planning, since the planning commission's got to approve it? So I don't need to answer those questions now, you bring them up with Ms. Brooks?
I would like your opinion and Ms. Brooks's opinion.
But are we gonna, this is on for second reading, are we gonna delay it till we get the answer to those? Is that what's? It's up to the sponsor.
Madam Chair, I think the sponsor is a planning commission.
Yeah, the sponsor's planning
Oh, I
commission.
thought it's down here as Fox, that's what I saw, it's Fox. I'm sorry, Mr. Fox, I thought I saw your name down there on the thing. Okay, so it'd be up to Commissioner Frazier.
Because I told him to leave me alone.
Somebody has to make the motion to defer it until.
I move that we defer this second reading until we are able to have the questions raised by Commissioner Russell addressed by the
Yeah, we can't, well, we can't.
county attorney.
We can't defer it right now because we're not, it's gonna be at zoning. So
Okay.
you can do that at zoning.
Okay.
This is just public hearing.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, just discuss stuff, so.
Madam Chair, actually, I think it's in the general, it'll be in our general meeting next week. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe in that time, you could have reached out to Director Brooks and Director Boot to get your questions answered, and it may not have to be deferred. Yeah, yeah. All right. Seeing no other questions, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Thompson, second by Commissioner Durrett. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.